Reddit shareholder and CNBC contributor Toney, Plexo Capital. Welcome back. Nice to see you on this Friday.
Thanks for having me. Happy Friday.
Yeah, you as well. Tell us about this news. What do you think it means to you as an investor in Reddit?
Well, look, we're an investor. We're excited, but I'll focus more just on the overall landscape and some of the things that Steve mentioned, which is, yes, I think companies that are involved in creating these foundational models like OpenAI, like Google and others, they're really excited to have access to more data to train. And especially, given the way that there was really unwritten rules around how the data should be acquired and should there be licenses paid, I think we're going to see more of these deals where there are formal deals in place where the data is being licensed and everyone agrees on the access and how the data will be used.
So what do you make of what happened this week then with OpenAI having their day, which seemed to try and front run Alphabet, and they had theirs? How should we assess all of this?
Yeah, I think the way to think about it is there's a lot at stake. Your prior commentator, I think, nailed it when he said we're in the very early innings. I think we're in the first inning. We might even be in the bottom half of the first inning, to use a baseball analogy. And so everyone's trying to position themselves. Obviously the big tech companies kind of see this as the next shift. They absolutely understand how critical it is to make sure that they don't miss anything. Google really is having an existential moment, kind of thinking about how this new world could upend the search business. However, when we think about some of these existing players like Google, they have massive customer bases that they can leverage. They've got vast amounts of data to be able to train their models. And they also have the ability to integrate a lot of these products together. And we see similar things happening with Microsoft and the way that they're positioning their products. So I would anticipate hearing some exciting things from Microsoft next week.
You say existential moment when you talk about Google, and you just laid out the reasons why regarding search. But some would suggest that those fears are overblown and were from the very beginning. And maybe the stock performance over the last 12 months would suggest that as well. What do you think?
Yeah, no, without question, I think it is important to rattle the cage and get shaken up. I'm very confident that given those three things that I laid out, the ability to have the massive customer base, the vast amounts of data, and the key products and the way they're integrated, places Google in a very good position where they are able to leverage all of those assets. However, that said, I think it's good to have these moments because it can help the internal organization rally around thinking about how they need to compete. So I think it's actually a very good thing. And yes, to your point, look, Google's not going anywhere anytime soon, but these types of moments are very important within a large organization in particular that really has almost kind of not had to worry about a dynamic shift like we're seeing on the platform side today.
Yeah, one of the reasons we even talk about Alphabet in the context, and I ask you the questions I do in the manner in which I do, is because of Microsoft, obviously, right? And they hold their event next week. I want to look ahead to that. We were fortunate enough to have Mustafa Suleiman on our program, on Closing Bell. I think it was his first TV interview that he had ever did. And so we got to know him a little bit, right? Co-founder of DeepMind. What does he mean to their own aspirations? And then, in turn, what does his positioning there mean for Alphabet, do you think, in the long run, knowing that they obviously still own DeepMind and they understand what he is, quote unquote, capable of?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think these are some of the moments, again, where internally companies have to really think about the types of leadership. And, when you have these movements within companies, it's akin to when a football coach goes to another organization and those two teams end up meeting down the road. It's kind of like one understands that playbook that's available, and sometimes people try to adjust their plans, but you can also over-adjust. I think, look, there's great opportunities for both Microsoft and Google to compete. I don't think this is going to end up being so much a zero-sum game as it will be about maybe there's new businesses that emerge, and there's going to have to be some shifts in business models. And then thinking about those leaders and the way that they're going to position the companies, I think just makes sense. I mean, these are good battles that are going to play out for the next few years, if not a decade. And so it's going to be exciting to watch.